Hey guys, so we are back in the basement. Today we are installing an 8-way light switch into the Jeep. When we go off-roading at night, we need different kinds of lights. As you guys have seen, I have a few lights on there. And I also want the opportunity to add in more electronics afterwards. Like I'm going to be adding a lit up flag mount for when we do night driving. I'm going to be adding my compressor on that. I'm going to be adding all of my spotlights and fog lights and off-road lights onto that as well. But before we get to the installation, let's unbox to see what we have inside there. And let's get into it. Hey guys, so here, let's see what's in the box. This is a universal 8-way light switch in a blue color that I ordered off of Aliexpress, and it came really quickly. Like it came in under 7 days, which is super fast. Let's see what's inside. We have our stickers. It's not quite as extravagant as some of the others, but it's a good selection of stickers. There is a bracket, an angle bracket to mount, I'm guessing, the power distribution block on. Some good instructions in color telling you which wires has to go. And then we have a flat mounting plate we can use for this box. We have our brain box. Okay, let's open it up and see what it looks like inside. You actually get extra spare medium fuses with it. And all of this looks pretty good. I'm guessing I'm gonna read the instructions to see which wires go here. But as it seems, we have 5 amps, 10 amps, 20 amps, and 30 amp inserts that is going along here, and you can actually see there are little LEDs to indicate if a fuse has blown or not. A clear indication of the positive and the negative terminals, which wires has to go. Oh, and there is all the wires at the bottom there. Some hardware to install all of the things with. We have our wires, battery terminal wires and grounding wire, and a spare little fuse jumper. You will not believe how hard it is to get these in the UAE. I had to order one of them, actually cost around $10 if I wanted it in under a week. If I wanted to wait 2 weeks, they were cheaper, but yeah, they're crazy stupid hard to find. Let's see what this is. 60 amp trip fuse, probably to run this off of. I am going to see if I will be using this or if I'm going to be using a 100 amp one. We'll see when we get to the installation. We get our communication wires, signal wires that runs to our lights, dimmer, and memory. And then this is our communication wire that runs to our actual switch that will go inside on the inside of the Jeep. And then we have our pride and joy, the actual light switch. There we go. It has an on and off switch in the middle, and then it has your 8 switches. They actually sound pretty clicky. I have to say that the finishing on this isn't that great, but I think it's going to do pretty well. And then there is one last way of mounting the actual light switch at an angle or flush as you go along. Let's see if there's something under. Cable ties and a last piece of plate. I'm guessing that goes on the back here to hold down if it's just going to be a flat mount, not being mounted on this little angly thing. Yeah, so that's in the box. Let's get to the installation. Okay guys, so I'm going to install this brain box over here, right here next to my battery. I 3D printed a little bracket for it because the bracket that I got with the package didn't work the way that I wanted, so I 3D printed one. Fun life of having a 3D printer, and it is going to go in here. Let's install it. Okay, so for these two bolts, you are going to need a 10mm spanner or a 10mm socket wrench to take them out so that we can bolt this thing into place. Okay, so here I'm just removing the bolts quickly so that I can bolt this into place. I did 3D print another one because this one didn't come out as perfect as I would have hoped. So there we go. Okay, so now the box is installed. We can open it up and we can have access to all of our wiring that we need through here. Let's get those wires installed. As I showed you guys earlier as well, it does come with extra wires. We have a ground wire that will ground, and we have two battery wires. Two nice and thick power wires that's going to go into this switch. Okay, so now the hardest part is going to decide which wire goes where, and then I'll install it. Put that over there and find a place to put this down. I might actually just cable tie it for now until I can 3D print a nice little bracket for it. So here I'm just looking for the correct location where I would like to mount my fuse. Just finding the correct place to put it so that the wires don't stretch too much. And as you can see there, I ended up making a 3D printed mount where you can then put the fuse right next to the brain box. This one also works actually with a 10mm socket. These little bolts that hold the wires. And then on this side, on the brain box side, it's actually a Stargate or a Phillips head screwdriver. Just making sure that I have everything to tighten down the electrical cables. Putting the fuse in the correct place, well, as correct as it was at that time, and just to make sure that everything is nice and tight and routed neatly under the hood. Just gonna earth the unit to one of these little earth mounting points on the side here. Okay. Sorry for all the background noise. I am just going to earth this unit on the side here where there are some earthing points. Just making sure that that earth wire is earthed to a correct earthing spot, and then putting it through the hole so that it earths inside the brain box as well. I just earthed it down on a body connection point on the Jeep that was already available, so I didn't have to make or drill any other holes for it. I'm sure I'm going to be getting a lot of flack for this, but I didn't disconnect my battery before I did something electrical to the Jeep. I'm just going to let that sit over there for the time being, while I am installing the rest of this and some other components until I can 3D print a bracket for this to be held on. Now, let's get to the wiring that goes from here to the inside of the actual cabin. Okay, so now as you guys can tell, there's already a wire, power wire from my compressor going through the firewall. I am going to use that same hole down there where your clutch pedal should be if you're driving a manual, and I'm going to route my control wire through that. First things first, let's get that piece of grommet out so that we can put another hole in it to put our control wire through. some slack on this power wire, just so that I have a little room to finagle it. And there we go. Now the last time I did this, I actually put a grommet in here. That should have been big enough so that I can put everything through. Let's see if that still works.
Don't judge me here. I tried both ends of that wire to go through the grommet and it didn't work. It just didn't want to fit through until I had a brain fart that gave me the correct... I actually thought I needed to cut it bigger.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this white clip, I'm going to pull the wire through the smaller hole, and that's it. Easy.
Here I just used a small screwdriver tip to remove the white clip so that the wires can go through the grommet at that time.
And my camera didn't film that. Stupid phone. Okay, so I put a grommet through the firewall where your clutch pedal goes through. That has been the hardest part so far. I'm just gonna tidy up some of these wires and then get to the installation inside. Now this signal wire that comes from the inside goes onto a 4-pin switch that is on here, and you literally just slide it through the hole at the bottom where your other wires come through, and you are pretty much ready to go if all of your other wires are in place. This little wire that I have wrapped up here has been my compressor activator.
You know when you have that idea that you're going to tidy up your wires and it's going to look nice on camera? Yeah, that happened here. So here I'm just getting everything positioned correctly so that I can cable tie everything down.
Next thing is we're going to be putting our power cable that powers this from the fuse in the fuse box with a little tapper that we have. I'm going to use a spare switch that I have, a pair of spare fuse that I have, just for the time being. Just need to figure out which one. Okay, so this one is going into fuse 52, and then I just need to find a spare that I can actually put on this so that it works properly. Now you're kidding me. This fuse doesn't fit. This fuse doesn't fit. How stupid is that? It comes with a package, but it doesn't fit. So it looks like I will have to order a micro fuse tap and hope for it to arrive, and when that arrives I can continue my installation.
So I did order the fuse tap that I needed. I installed it, I just didn't record it, but it is in place now, and that's why the lights actually work.
So what I'm going to do is I am going to tidy up the wiring so long, and then continue when I get the fuse.
So this is just some more cable tidying up for the temporary solution that I had with my wiring setup, while I also waited for the fuse to arrive, or the fuse tap to arrive. Those things are just stupid hard to find. Not even at Jeep at the dealership do you get those wire taps. So I'm guessing if they put wires in here, they don't use the proper taps or anything like that. They just splice it into the wiring.
Now as you can see, I put my wires neatly at the back there. The fuse is still a bit of a mess, but I'll 3D print a bracket for that while I wait for the fuse tap to arrive. That has been put in. I can't go any further with the wiring on that. And then the wire goes through the firewall over there. Now you could put these wires in that little black space behind the wires, but I'm not gonna do that because I heard that it's an absolute pain to remove, and since I don't really have a garage, I'm working in the basement, I don't want to take everything apart. So that's it for neat tidying up the wires. Okay guys, so this is my 8-way light switch that I put into a 3D printed compartment. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put some 3M sticky tape on the sides and then hopefully stick it in place here under my light, holder, route the wires through, and then that should hold everything in place, out of the way and looking nice. I 3D printed this because I didn't want to drill into my physical dash, so I really hope that this will work and that will work well to keep it into place. I recently put a flag mount on the back, in the back of the Jeep, and I just realized now that that fell off in the heat. The glue didn't keep up, so I really hope that this 3M tape is going to last. I'm just gonna pull this plastic out to make sure my wires go where they need to go.
I really jumped there. There was a wasp or something there. It looked like a big wasp.
Sorry about that. That looked like a wasp. Okay, so my 3M tape is on there. I hope it stays on well. And I'm going to put the wire that comes from the brain box in the front, I'm going to put that through the same hole where I put where the lever comes through to raise and lower your steering wheel. So there's a gap in the cloth material here. I already routed the other wire through the firewall. So all I need to do now is connect the two wires, and then I'm golden. There we go. So here goes nothing. If it falls off, whoops, I'll have to fix it in a different way. But if it works, then I have found a relatively cheap way of mounting your light switches without too much money. The hardest part about using 3M tape is taking the backing off. And while I'm holding this in place with one hand, I'm just going to connect the wire with the other. This is a waterproof connection, so it actually screws into each other.
I think that went pretty good, and it was actually staying.
Cool. I really think that looks pretty nice. The 3M tape sticks out a little bit. Maybe I should get some black 3M tape, but I think that looks pretty good. It's not in the way of the speaker part at all. I can access the wire back here pretty easily. Yeah, there you go. So that didn't last even 5 minutes. Maybe if I used thicker 3M tape, it would work.
And here I had the epiphany to maybe use a double layer of double-sided tape.
That's not very sticky 3M tape. I'm gonna double it up, see if that works. Maybe if it's thicker. Because I don't want to drill holes into my plastic dash.
In this case, doubling up the double-sided tape or the 3M tape worked. I just actually wish that it worked better, but it did work and it did hold the light switch in place for a few weeks. It actually fell off again and I just reapplied some double-sided tape to keep it in place.
Okay guys, so here it is. It's actually activated and it's nice and blue. It's not up all in your face, which I really like, and it matches the blue of the Jeep. And you can switch, this specific light switch is pretty nice. You can switch on your lights, right? It shows you which lights are on, and then if you press this on and off button, it switches everything off. And then if you press the on button again, it switches everything back on that was just off. So that's pretty cool. And then there it goes. I still have to figure out how to keep the backlight on when my car is on, but yeah, we'll get to that. I have everything set up here, my windshield lights, my side lights, hood light. I'm going to be installing some rock lights in the future, my whip, my flag. I'm going to be adding a light for that, and my air compressor. So okay, so if you guys have watched the other video where I installed my compressor, you will know that I have an extra switch along with the pressure control system in the back there with it. Now, if this is not switched on, none of that works on its own. This activates the whole system on its own, which is awesome. Okay, let me show you what the lights look like.
So there you go guys, those are the lights. If you like it, please leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. See you in the next one.